The Soviet invasion of Poland in September 1939 marked a critical escalation in the early days of World War II, effectively partitioning the country between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union and erasing the Second Polish Republic from the map. This event, often overshadowed by the German invasion that preceded it, was the direct result of secret diplomatic maneuvering amid rising European tensions. On September 1, 1939, Nazi Germany launched its blitzkrieg assault on Poland from the west, north, and south, citing fabricated border incidents like the Gleiwitz provocation to justify the attack. Britain and France declared war on Germany 2 days later, but their support for Poland remained largely symbolic, with no immediate military aid forthcoming. As Polish forces struggled against the overwhelming German onslaught, the Soviet Union struck from the east on September 17th, sealing Poland's fate and demonstrating the fragility of interwar alliances. The roots of the invasion lay in the complex geopolitical landscape of the 1930s. Following the Polish-Soviet War of 1919-1921, which ended with the Treaty of Riga, Poland had secured eastern territories inhabited by significant Ukrainian, Belarusian, and Lithuanian populations. These borders, recognized internationally in 1923, were a source of resentment for the Soviet Union, which viewed them as a loss of historic Russian lands. By 1939, Joseph Stalin, wary of Adolf Hitler's expansionism, evident in the remilitarization of the Rhineland, the Anschluss with Austria, and the dismemberment of Czechoslovakia, sought to secure Soviet interests. Negotiations with Britain and France for a collective security pact faltered over mutual distrust, and Poland's refusal to allow Soviet troops passage through its territory, fearing it would lead to permanent occupation. This impasse paved the way for the infamous Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, signed on August 23, 1939, between Soviet Foreign Minister Vyacheslav Molotov and German Foreign Minister Joachim von Ribbentrop. Publicly a non-aggression treaty, it included a secret protocol that divided Eastern Europe into spheres of influence. Poland was to be split along the Pisa, Narew, Vistula, and San rivers, with the eastern regions, comprising about 200,000 square kilometers and 13.5 million people, falling to the Soviets. This agreement neutralized the threat of a two-front war for Germany and allowed Stalin to reclaim territories lost in 1921, while expanding Soviet buffer zones against potential German aggression. An accompanying commercial deal exchanged Soviet raw materials for German military technology, further solidifying the temporary alliance. The Soviet invasion commenced at dawn on September 17th, without a formal declaration of war. Soviet propaganda justified the action as a liberation to protect ethnic Ukrainians and Belarusians in the wake of Poland's alleged collapse, with Molotov declaring all prior treaties void. The Red Army, under commanders like Semyon Timoshenko and Mikhail Kovalev, mobilized over 600,000 troops, supported by thousands of tanks and aircraft, advancing on the Belarusian and Ukrainian fronts. Polish defenses in the east were minimal, consisting mainly of the 20,000-strong Border Protection Corps, as most forces were committed against the Germans. Initial encounters were confusing. Some Polish units mistook the Soviets for allies arriving to counter Germany. Key battles unfolded rapidly. On September 19th, Soviet forces captured Vilnius, after brief fighting. In Brest-Litovsk, the Red Army took the fortress on September 17th, followed by a symbolic joint parade with German troops on September 22nd, highlighting the invaders' coordination. Fiercer resistance occurred at Grodno, captured September 24th after 4 days, and Lviv, which surrendered to the Soviets on September 22nd after a German siege was lifted. The Battle of Szak on September 28th saw a tactical Polish victory by the Border Protection Corps under General Wilhelm Orlik Rückemann, but it was short-lived. The last major engagement was at Wytyczno on October 1st, with Polish holdouts surrendering by October 6th after the Battle of Kock. Soviet losses were relatively light, around 1,475 to 3,000 killed, while Polish casualties included 3,000 to 7,000 dead and up to 450,000 captured. Polish leadership, including Commander-in-Chief Edward Rydz-Śmigły, ordered troops to avoid full-scale combat with the Soviets unless attacked, prioritizing retreat to the Romanian bridgehead for potential evacuation. The government fled to Romania on September 18th, refusing surrender and establishing a government in exile. Domestically, reactions varied. Some ethnic minorities welcomed the Soviets, while Poles and others resisted amid reports of local uprisings and communist-organized greetings. Internationally, the response was muted. Britain and France, allied with Poland, condemned the invasion but took no action against the USSR, hoping to exploit tensions between Stalin and Hitler. Winston Churchill even suggested the Soviet advance created a new front against Germany. The League of Nations expelled the Soviet Union in December 1939 for aggression against Finland, but Poland's partition was a fait accompli. The consequences were devastating. The German-Soviet Treaty of Friendship on September 28th adjusted the demarcation line, granting the Soviets 3/5 of Poland and 13 million inhabitants. Soviet occupation brought immediate repression. NKVD arrests, executions, and deportations of hundreds of thousands to Siberia in 4 waves from 1939 to 1941, with estimates of 150,000 Poles affected and many perishing. The infamous Katyn massacre in 1940 claimed 22,000 Polish officers and elites. Sovietization involved nationalizing property, suppressing religion, and rigging elections in October 1939 to annex the territories into the Ukrainian and Belarusian SSRs. The invasion's legacy endures as a symbol of totalitarian collusion. Soviet propaganda framed it as a liberation until the USSR's collapse, when archives revealed the pact's secrets. Post-war borders, confirmed at Yalta in 1945, shifted Poland westward, compensating for eastern losses with German territories. In modern Russia, interpretations vary. Vladimir Putin has alternately condemned and defended the pact. For Poland, it represents national tragedy, contributing to the deaths of millions and reshaping Eastern Europe's map. The event underscored the perils of appeasement and set the stage for the broader horrors of World War II, reminding us of how secret deals can ignite global conflict.